Hello, welcome to Ticket to the Cup. Coming to you from the top end today, I'm Tracey Holmes. We'll sit down with the FIFA Secretary-General shortly, Fatma Samoura, to talk about the decision to fly First Nations flags at all World Cup venues. We'll also have a chat to the latest Matilda, Claire Hunt. And we catch up with professional photographer Lynn Cameron, who's been embedded with the English Lionesses for years. And Eleni Soltis takes us through the World Cup and global broadcasting. First though, here's the news. Major sports events are about so much more than matches and results. They are also about cultural experiences. This week, Dutch and Spanish players have learned making fun of the traditional Maori haka is culturally inappropriate. It's not traditionally performed by New Zealand football teams, presumed to be an issue with the tight broadcast scheduling. But it hasn't stopped the New Zealand football Ferns performing it after the final whistle in other tournaments. China, ranked 14th in the world, has arrived in Adelaide. The Steel Roses are coached by Shui Qinxia, a player who represented China in the first Women's World Cup back in 1991. She's already had some success with China winning last year's Asian Cup. The most powerful woman in world sport, FIFA's Secretary-General Fatma Samoura, travelled to Darwin this week to meet with young football enthusiasts, many of whom don't have the same opportunities to succeed as those in other Australian cities. FIFA put together an all-women's cultural advisory panel ahead of this World Cup, made up of 3 Indigenous women and 3 Maori women, to guarantee their voices are heard. Fatma Samoura sat down with Ticket to the Cup with more on the impact the World Cup can have.
The first thing that they put forward is we want to be recognized, and we want our culture and our tradition to be recognized. And we materialize it for the first time in the official match ball by featuring the markings of the First Nation and the Maori on a football for a World Cup. It's a premiere in the world that Adidas is delivering a football with the marking of the indigenous community. The second step, and this is something that I insisted when we were talking about running information campaign for the World Cup. I told my colleague Sarai and my deputy, we need to highlight the fact that there are issues with the First Nations and with the Maori community in their own land. We have to recognize their supremacy, I'm sorry to say it, on this land by giving them the possibility to have each of the captains of the national teams participating in this World Cup showing solidarity by wearing a armband with "Let's Unite for the Indigenous." And this is also something that is very close to my heart. So it was a way for us to show recognition, but also to show respect to the cultures and tradition of the First Nation and the Maori communities in both host countries. And there will be more things we will be doing. Gender-based violence is an issue in all the continents, but I think it's very relevant during also this World Cup to open the eyes of the world on the discrimination that women in particular are facing by being also considered as victims and not part of society where their values are recognized somewhere else. So this is for me an important way to also tell the world football is good, but football is better if it can send good messages to change society in a sustainable way. And this is our responsibility.
There have only been 224 Matildas, and number 224 is Claire Hunt. It's taken her a while to get into the Matildas setup through a series of surgeries and setbacks that she's had to navigate, but she slotted in incredibly quickly. Claire Hunt, Matilda number 224. That is the most recent Matilda number of them all. What does it feel like to be the latest to be given this honour?
I feel exceptionally grateful, and I'm so excited to get started with the World Cup campaign. I feel really lucky to be given this opportunity. It's been a big 6 months for me from my debut in Feb, so I'm just eager to get started with the team.
I know when you made your debut it was like instant impact, and a whole lot of people were like, wow, how come she hasn't been in the team before now?
Yeah.
Is that a question you asked yourself?
Not really, because I feel like I wasn't available to be in the team before this point this year. So with my injury history and just a bit of bad luck in terms of that, I don't think I was available for it. But I think now the timing's been right and I feel really, really fit and healthy. So it's good to have a stint of feeling like that and exposure in the national team environment for this moment now. So.
And it's the most challenging part of sport, isn't it? When people say, oh yeah, you know, I've been lucky in my career. Mostly they haven't been lucky, they've just worked really, really hard.
Yeah.
But in professional sport, you really do have to have that extra bit of luck. Do you feel like that is with the team now, heading into a home World Cup?
I don't want to say that we have or don't have luck, because I have no idea, but I think I know the preparation that the team has put in the last 4 years, and I've been exposed to that for the last 6 months. And if that's any reflection of what they've done for the last 4 years, then I can only say that we have, you know, left no stone unturned and that we've worked exceptionally hard to get to this point. So I would say that we are as best prepared as we can be.
Did you expect to be named in this squad, or did you think maybe because you're one of the newcomers you might not be included, or did you know that your ability put you in there definitely?
I was talking to Tony about this when we were having our meeting about the squad, and I think for me it was more just I wanted that but I didn't expect it. So it's something I hoped for but didn't expect. And I think now that I can sit back and go, I'm a part of this team, and regardless of how recent my debut was or how recently I came into the squad, I think for me it's more just I'm here now, I'm a member of the squad, and I'm just willing to contribute like anyone else. We're all very hardworking, we're all very competitive, we're all very inclusive, we're all very driven for a set goal. And I think when you have those attributes as a professional athlete and as a professional footballer in this team, it makes your job so much easier when everyone's on the same page. So I think in terms of that personality of the Matildas, they're the core values that we share, and I feel like if we can express those, I suppose, to the public and let them know what we're about, then it's pretty easy to support a team that is driven by those values.
Claire Hunt, it's been an incredible journey so far, and you're about to make history.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
When the England Lionesses won the Euro 2022 Championships, the question was asked almost immediately, could the best team in Europe become the best team in the world here at the FIFA Women's World Cup? But with a coach that likes to stick with a plan and a couple of high-profile withdrawals, the team may be tested here. Lynn Cameron was the official photographer embedded with the Lionesses for many years. I caught up with her at the first ever Women in Sport Photographic Awards in Taipei. Lynn, talk to me about the Lionesses. It's a big moment coming up for them, for the world, in fact, with the FIFA Women's World Cup, but you know them intimately. You've been photographing them for a while. What can you tell us? What insights can you share about this dynamic team?
So yeah, it's been an honour and a privilege to photograph them intimately, you know, as the photographer for a number of years. They've allowed me to do that, and I've captured some amazing memories, and you know, the pinnacle being the winning of the Euros last summer. A little bit more special because it was the home Euros, and I think there's always something more special about that. As a team, they're just a fantastic bunch of women, really nice human beings, and the thing is for me is that when I photograph them and I look at my photographs, that's how they are all the time. They get up first thing in the morning, the personalities are the same, and they have so many diverse personalities, but they are just a tremendous group of girls, and I'm really excited to see how the Matildas do with the World Cup, with the same backing hopefully from the Australians, and the White Ferns in New Zealand the same.
You are an official photographer, you've worked across men's and women's sport. The documentation of history, this is what photographers do. How important is it then that we have a mix in the makeup of who is doing the photographing? Because you don't see that a lot at major events. You know, the photographic pool, it's dominated by men.
Yeah, I think that's really true, and I think that's also really sad. The image that's behind us was taken by a female photographer who won our competition, Lizzie Nielsen, this year, and it obviously captures the winning goal in a Euros match. And I've spoken to Chloe afterwards, and she herself described it as iconic. Now, I don't think Chloe set out to have an iconic image, or she just wanted to play football, and I think it's like that for me as a sports photographer. I just go out and I want to document what's happening in front of me. Every assignment is a small story, a small piece of what's happening on the field of play, whatever sport it is. We have a real issue in a lot of areas where females are underrepresented, and we need to try and address that. And that way we get more of a representation of sport. It mirrors society in a lot of ways, and if we can get more female photographers behind the camera, both in sport and in video, and in journalism and all these other areas, then that I think would be a really positive step. And it's important to have images and reports from a diverse community, and women make up a massive part of that. And it's important that we get not just a female version of female sport and not just a male version of male sport, but that we're showing lots of different diversity in our photography as well as our lives.
More than 1 billion people tuned in to the last Women's World Cup in France 2019. FIFA is hoping that record is surpassed. They're aiming for 2 billion this time around. But it hasn't always been an easy ride when it comes to broadcasting and the global women's game. Eleni Soltis has more.
How did FIFA, dogged with allegations of corruption, use one of its darkest days to become an advocate for women? Following the dramatic early morning arrests of FIFA officials in Zurich, Sepp Blatter, who was still FIFA's president during the Women's World Cup in Canada, decided to not go to the tournament, citing personal reasons. No one is suggesting he might have feared extradition to the US, where the FBI and Justice Department were leading what would become a years-long FIFA probe.
I am sorry that I am still somewhere a punching ball.
With this power vacuum in Canada, women in the FIFA room saw an opportunity. Former Matilda turned FIFA Executive Committee member Moya Dodd proposed some major reforms to new President Gianni Infantino.
We know you have a lot of problems. We know that FIFA has a lot of problems. We're part of the solution.
The new president listened. He brought more women into leadership roles and set a target for equal prize money by 2027. And he wants broadcasters to do their part.
So if a broadcaster, often public broadcasters in big countries, offer us 100 million or more to broadcast the Men's World Cup, they offer us 1 million or less to broadcast the Women's World Cup. Do you think that is normal?
Infantino also drew a line in the sand.
And the news I have for those broadcasters or sponsors who don't want to offer similar amounts than for the Men's World Cup is simply, well, we're not going to sell women's football and Women's World Cup at these prices.
This year is the first time FIFA is selling TV rights to the women's tournament separately. Previously, they were bundled together with the Men's World Cup. Dodd argues this devalued women's football, put in the mix as a freebie, while at the same time inflating the value of the men's game. Following Infantino's threats of a media blackout, there was a standoff with Europe's 5 biggest football nations. A deal was finally sealed in June for an undisclosed amount. But less than a month out from the tournament, Japan, the 2011 champions, was still without a broadcast deal, with the head of the country's women's league, Haruna Takada, announcing she'll try to raise the funds through donations. In Australia, SBS, the traditional home of football, is not broadcasting this year's tournament. The games will instead be broadcast on pay TV, Optus, with 15 games broadcast for free on the 7 Networks streaming service. FIFA has suggested where games aren't being broadcast, they would stream the matches themselves. Maybe FIFA could do a deal with FIFA and sell the rights to themselves. But hang on, that would get us right back to where we started.
Thanks for your company. Remember, you can see all of our interviews in full on iView and all of our social media channels. There's also the Ticket to the Cup podcast on the ABC Listen app. See you next time.